what's up? It's been a while. I have been MIA for the past 2 weeks. I sincerely apologize, but it would have happened anyways because I really needed that time to spend on my launch. There's a 6-month wealth wellness program that I have been launching so that people can work with me one-to-one for the next 6 months. And it went really well. So if you haven't seen the deets on that program, you can go check out my Insta. Everything is there. So today I want to get into, I guess, the best ways to build wealth, right? And when we're talking about wealth, we have to start with the foundation. And the foundation starts at budgeting. You can't know where you need to, stop spending, how much more you need to save unless you are using some sort of tool to help you either cut back in areas of spending or finding side hustles or just other ways to create multiple streams of income coming in. And so whenever we talk about cash flow, in order to stretch your savings or in order to see it grow, you have to either cut back in areas that are hampering it or just find other ways to increase your income. Obviously, finding other ways to increase your income is 10 times as hard. You can't just go to your work and say, I want more money, right? And then we would all do it. So obviously it's not as easy. So what most people try to do is they start at seeing where they can cut down and create more space in order to have a little bit of more money that can go into their savings and overall build wealth, and so that they can achieve whatever financial goal they're set out to achieve, right? So I'm going to go over the 5 ways to budget effectively. Now, there are like 1 or 2 unconventional ways that I'm not going to talk about today, but you're going to have to watch next week's episode to catch that. So number 1, the most popular way I would say that I'm seeing right now, especially in the sphere of social media, is spreadsheets. So obviously spreadsheets can look like, they can be automated or non-automated. So you can have a system, maybe Excel, where once you plug in numbers, things start to sort of calculate for themselves. Takes out of the extra work if you actually have to have a physical calculator by your side and like punching and shit, or like your iPhone. So you have 2 versions, right? Depending on what is most easier for you. If you are someone that has access to a computer, I would highly recommend obviously using some sort of software like Excel or even in Word and just setting up a table, curating a table. Or some people, what they do, they will print out just, rows and columns, just a blank Excel spreadsheet, and then printing that off and then sort of filling out your own sort of categories and doing it that way yourself. But anyways, in a spreadsheet, you're going to have everything covered. You're going to have your income, your different ways that you make your income. You're going to have any loans you need to pay off. You're going to have all your expenses, so rent, car, you're going to have your insurance, and then you're going to have your other frivolous things that you spend money on, right? Like shopping, hair, nails, whatever that looks like for you. Toys, entertainment, right? Especially if you have kids, pets. So you're going to break down all the areas of your life where money comes in or money comes out. You're going to account for both. You don't really have to account for savings, but pretty much based on that, you can see how much money you have left over after all these expenses, how much you still have left over out of your income. And then that can give you an idea of how much money you leave for yourself at the end of the month to put away into your savings. And obviously with spreadsheets, there's no real rule as to how often you have to check in. So, there can be some people who will do it daily, as soon as they make purchases, writing things down. And then by the end of the week, comparing their purchases, comparing spending, saving if they did any, weekly, bi-weekly, and then obviously monthly. So I would say monthly or even bi-weekly is more ideal. That way you kind of get a bigger picture. And, obviously spreadsheets are extremely detailed. You have to have a lot of, I wouldn't say a lot of time, but you really have to be consistent and dedicated to keeping track of expenses as soon as they sort of come so that you're not miscalculating anything, right? So it's really up to you. Have your receipts, keep things organized. And obviously this can be quite hard for some people and this can be quite tasking. So that is a con to spreadsheets. But if you're someone who's highly organized and has great attention to detail, and you love to-do lists and checking things off, then like this would probably work for you. Then another way to budget is taking notes. So this could be creating a checklist of your expenses, how much you've saved, how much you spent, not necessarily in an Excel spreadsheet. It can literally just be like a journal that you have, just writing things out. This is something that I particularly do on my notes app in my phone. Sometimes things will come up and or maybe I want to calculate for a particular purchase, and I'll be like, okay, well, like how much money do I have right now? How much money will I need in order to get to this goal? So it doesn't necessarily even need to be for budgeting, but some people just like taking notes or using notes apps to sort of plan and budget for like a particular financial goal, not necessarily where they're at right now, but really you can curate it to work for how, you want it to work for you. So you can budget daily, weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly, whatever works for you, using, like I said, a notes app, notepad, journal, as things come up, or just by the end of the month, you can look back and see, okay, like what's the estimate of how much I spent in this area, how much was my income this month, where did I leave room for me to save, if any? If I didn't, then how can we create room for next month? Obviously, notes apps is quite easier. It's less detailed. You have less oversight, so you don't have to be particularly down to the exact digit. Very flexible. And then I would say it requires more responsibility, right? Because if you're like too flexible and too fluid with your budgeting, then you may miss some things, right? Or you actually may end up overspending and not have enough money to save at the end of the month. Envelopes. So this is particularly something I've never done myself. I don't know anybody personally that does this, but I have seen it work for some people, and just reading stories on how it's been effective. I think a lot of older people, mature people, probably budgeted this way before we had, computers and softwares and all of that great stuff. So with envelopes, pretty much you're just writing out categories on top of the envelope for any of your spending, and what you want to save as well. So you're actually budgeting like ahead of time. And what you have to do is usually you'd go to the bank, take out cash for that month, whatever net income you come up with, and insert that amount you'd like to spend for each category in that envelope. So you're going to take out your ideal amount of money that you've made for the month or bi-weekly or whatever, however you get paid, taking that right away in cash and putting them in envelopes for different categories. And then if you want, you can have an envelope for savings. This way, this particularly falls into that 50, 30, 20 rule, right? Like 50% expenses, 30%, 50% expenses, 30% wants, and then 20% savings, right? So if you want to be a bit more aggressive, you can say, you know what, I'm going to put 40% into my savings and 10% of my income into my wants. And that may look like, say you're making $1,000 for the month, right? So you're going to take out $1,000 from your bank and you're going to put, say your expenses is 50% worth of your income. Okay, then you're going to put $500 away to paying off your rent, groceries, whatever all that is, your car. And then you're going to put you're going to put $400 away into your savings, and then you're only going to have $100 left to spend for the month. So it's up to you how aggressive you want to be. Instead, you can say, no, I want $400 to go towards my wants and then $100 to go towards my savings. With budgeting, it gives you the flexibility to really save as aggressive or as conservative as you like. It depends on your goals and how badly you want to reach them, of course, right? Even you don't have to use envelopes. So, some people maybe use jars. You just have to label things, really. Any type of container where you can label and stash money away, and that's great. And then obviously the best thing about this is like when your money runs out, it just runs out. So of course you've taken care of your expenses, you put your savings away. So all you have left is cash for spending on like frivolous things and just your wants, right? And when that $100, $200, $500 runs out, then like that's it, right? Like you don't really have anything else in the bank, right? You've allocated everything to a specific location in your bank account. So that's it. sucks to be you, right? Which is actually a good thing. So if you're someone who struggles with overspending, I definitely would try the envelope and stasher method. See if that works for you. If spreadsheets aren't working, if note apps aren't working, guys, play around with things because we're all unique, right? We're all unique individuals. One thing that's gonna work for someone may not work for us, and we just need to find something that suits our personality and habit style. So last but not least is apps. So with apps, this is honestly one of my favorite ways to budget. Budgeting apps literally take all the hard work and tracking and time out of the equation for you. So really all you have to do is link a credit card, any bank card actually, to this app. And what it does is every time you're making a purchase or you're spending or you're paying a bill, whatever, it will track all of this for you and categorize things. And literally it's a built-in budgeting feature. So all you really have to do is you can check in anytime you want, daily, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, yearly if you want, and you have those insights always there for you. And the great thing is you don't have to do a thing. All you have to do is continue living the life that you're currently doing, and it is literally calculating where you're spending most of your money. You know, it's tracking. Of course, it takes in whatever income you're making. You can set up with your work that money comes into, you know, this certain banking app or just app in general. For me, I have a Coho card, so it's like a bank and a budgeting app built in one. Most apps are kind of just off to the side, so you can't really deposit it straight to the app. Of course not. But nevertheless, as you're using your bank card, it's calculating everything for you. You do not have to use a calculator. You don't have to go through spreadsheets and track your receipts. Literally, like, everything's there in one place. And whenever you want to see some insights, you can go on at any time and just see how you're doing. So really, all you really need for budgeting apps is like a phone, and access to like the Google Play Store or iPhone Store, what, you know, like depending whatever phone you have. I don't think there may be an app that's also built into like a desktop version, but I haven't tried or found any of those. So you may need to do some research on your end. And of course, the benefits to this using apps, it's less time consuming, like I said, less tedious. You don't need to pay as much attention to like exact details and figures because it's a software already doing that for you, and you have less responsibility, right? You don't have to remember, oh yeah, this week I forgot to budget for this or that. No, like, it's there. You can go in, look into it at any time you want. The fifth way to budget, this isn't really a popular method, but it was something that I actually saw on TikTok the other day, and I thought it was a fun or a cool thing to try. For other people, I may not necessarily do it myself, but literally it's sort of similar to the envelope stashing method, and they kind of try to make it fun. So it was really to save $5,000 between the next 3 to 6 months. And the way that they did it was they literally had envelopes and they wrote out a number 1 to 100 on each envelope, and then put it into this box, and then every day you would go into this box and pull out an envelope, and whatever number you saw on the top is what you had to put away into your savings. So literally you can go in one day and it'll be like $99, and then the next day it could be like $5, right? And the next day it could be like $100. So like, you never really know, but you have to have that money ready and put it away. And that is something that maybe you can play around with and see. I bet there are so much other ideas out there, guys. Like I said, I had 5 ways to budget effectively, but really there could be like 100. But these are like, the first 4 are really the ones that most people talk about. The 5th one was just a fun little thing I wanted to throw in and see if, you know, anyone wanted to try that, and you can get back to me and let me know how that works. But literally so many different ways to budget out there. I actually only really use budgeting apps and notes to really help me budget. I'm not a fan of spreadsheets, hate spreadsheets with like a burning passion. But then I've talked to some people and I have clients that love budget sheets, and we work through them. I still know how to use each method and, you know, for my clients' needs and purposes. But personally for me, I found that budgeting for me is just, you know, using a budgeting app to do it for me, which I've actually only just started this year. And in the past, really, all I did was like look at my bank statements every month and be like, where did I spend most of my money? Where did everything go? And then just like mentally take down notes as to like what I need to stop doing, which, you know, for some people works, for some people it doesn't. But in next week's episode, I'm actually gonna deep dive into one little trick that has helped me without having to do any of these 5 that I've mentioned today, okay? So next week's episode is gonna be lit, because literally, if you're someone who hates budgeting, hates the word, and you just think like the snobbiest of people are the only ones that budget, and like and you don't want to do it and you will never, then that's fine. That is fine. I have a way out. So tune in next Tuesday to see how that goes and what it is. Please like, subscribe as usual. If you have any questions, feel free to give me a chat. You can find me on Instagram at Holistic Bucks. That's mainly where all my activity is. If you want, you can also sign up for my newsletter, where you will get first dibs on any workshops, webinars, events. I had a masterclass 2 Tuesdays ago, before my launch, on saving while living your best life. That was lit. And I haven't even done like an actual YouTube video on it, and I probably won't. So to get special access to things like that, you need to be following me on Instagram, all right? So head on over there, and hope to see you guys soon next Tuesday.